So, the Fort of Douaumont is that's the big thing.
Yes.
That's the biggest fort. And you have to think it used to all the bumps you see, it's shells impact. It used to be flat.
Yeah. And all the grass and dirt over it. Or was that there?
What, the grass?
I mean, when they built this fort, I thought I saw some pictures of it originally. Wow.
It used to be surrounded by a big fence, 3 meters high, and here you have one remain of that fence.
That's it.
And that's it. And you will see the moat.
Yes.
Oh, it's all around. Well, on the other side of the fort, you will see the moat when we go on the roof. And here I have a lot to explain. So I have this map here, very useful for us. So, in the Franco-Prussian War, the French lost Alsace, that's here, and they lost the department of Moselle. Pretty often you will hear that France lost Alsace and Lorraine, which is all this. It's over-exaggerated. It was for propaganda, you know, that's what the kids were told at school, that the Germans
That's what I was told at school.
Yeah, you too, you see, and even I, as a kid, I was told that the Germans stole us, Alsace and Lorraine.
Right.
So it sounds, you know, we have 22 regions in France. And if you take 2, wow, that's a big part of France. So actually, it's just this and this. So it's bad already. It's one of the most richest regions in France. So, you know, they used to have a lot of coal and steel industry. So that was a disaster for France to lose just that. But that's not all that.
Right.
So, anyway, that made the French-German border here. You know, the French had built some forts next to Strasbourg, and then all of this became German. So they decided to fortify those 4 cities along the new French-German border. So Verdun, Toul, Épinal, and Belfort. And to make it complete, they created also a few in-between forts. So you have a few here, and you have a few here, but this is the Vosges Mountains, so it's not easy for the Germans to go through. And they, on purpose, they didn't defend that part. It was done so that if the Germans were dumb enough to go and rush inside this, they would be awaited by the fortified city of Langres, fortified by Vauban in the past. So if you focus on Verdun, it's here. So you see the city of Verdun with the citadel, and they built a first belt of forts, including Souville, that the Germans reached but could not take. And then you have that second belt of forts, including Douaumont on the northeast, so it's the closest to the German city, German border when it was there, with Metz, the big now German military city.
Where's the border today?
Here on the Rhine, it's back here.
Okay.
This is the border today. So there's no surprise that they built the Fort of Douaumont, the biggest of all the forts. They built it here. It's the closest to the French-German border, and it's also the highest hill. There is nothing higher than that.
Okay.
So, remember all this, it's Mr. Serré de Rivière. This guy. General Raymond Adolphe Serré de Rivière. So even the French don't know about this. If you ask the French, they will tell you, yes, I know the Maginot Line. Maybe a few will know Vauban, fortification, but very few will know that name.
Really?
It's closely related to World War I, so people remember Verdun and the Somme, but not the forts.
Right.
Serré de Rivière. So, yes, that's, on the total, because you have forts built here, but you have a few also in the Alps, on the Mediterranean Sea, and you have a few more along the Belgian border here.
Okay.
The main thing is here, but you have more. And on the total, it's 160 forts
Really?
that they have built.
Wow.
It's a huge effort done by France to protect
Yeah.
the new
I
borders.
did not know that. That many.
It's huge. Like the cost of Douaumont, I've read, in today's currency, that would be 250 million euros.
Wow.
For just that one fort.
Yeah.
So 160. They are not all that big as Douaumont, but
They cost money.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot. But France was rich thanks to its colonies. So they could afford it. Because here you have two technologies. You have the old technology for building forts, as they used to, like Vauban did the same already 300 years ago, with those white stones.
Mm-hmm.
And then they noticed they were too old. That is not good enough. And they had just finished building a pretty fair amount of forts when they realized that everything would be destroyed in a few hours because of new shells that they invented. So they had to remake everything again. Not remake, they had to
Like reinforce
add,
it?
yeah, they have added a layer of concrete reinforced with steel. So that's what you see up there. That's
Sure.
the layer of concrete. And it's black because it's been bombed and it has burned and all this. But
Pretty thick.
yeah, it was supposed to be 3 meters thick. And also they added earth on top of that. 3 more meters.
Oh, sure.
So you will see the result in the Fort of Douaumont, because it's a heavy weight that they put on the roof. And then you have to reinforce the base of the building. And you cannot put so many rooms. You have to fill some of the rooms with rocks to be able to carry the weight. So you cannot put as many soldiers as it was foreseen before. And you cannot put as many weapons too.
Wow.
But you will see that. So maybe it will explain a few things. It's called the torpedo shell crisis, and it took place in 1885. You have many improvements in artillery. So the shells were better and the cannons were better too. When I say better, they go further, they are more accurate, they are quicker. For example, let's take a shell that used to be a shell for a 105 millimeter cannon. The main thing in France was the 75 millimeter. But I know the numbers for those special shells. So it used to be 40 kilos filled with 1.6 kilo of black powder. That's the old shells. Then they invented a new explosive called the mélinite. It's come from miel in French, that is honey. It's the same color, so that's why they call it mélinite. It's yellow-brown something. So before, 1.6 kilos of black powder, and the new shells had 10 kilos of the new explosive.
Okay.
So 6 more times, and the new explosive is twice as powerful as the before black powder. So it makes it 12 times more efficient.
That's why.
Yeah. So they tried on an old fort near Reims. They tried to send new shells on that fort. It was completely destroyed in 3 or 4 hours.
Really?
Yeah. So if they wanted to not have built all this for nothing, they had to reinforce it and put that new cover. Yeah.
That wasn't cheap either.
No, yeah, many more millions.
Yeah.
They spent so much money. So, and yes, inside the cannons, you know, they made like a spiral thing for the shell to rotate.
Yes.
And yes, all this together, they had to do that. So here it's been half destroyed.
Oh, this is is this the wall? It's this thick? Or
Yeah. So this is the original as it was in the war. So it's central, so it's not been touched, but here it's been bombed and destroyed, so they had to add some concrete. So what I like from the Fort of Douaumont, they have inside, they have a little model of the fort.
Okay.
So you will understand what they added and what's new, or what was new when World War I started. And they also have maps where I will explain you. You will understand the movements of the Germans and all that. And yes, I didn't say the main thing so far.
what's that?
The fort was German for 8 months.
The Germans took this fort?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
you didn't know. So that's the big thing about the Fort of Douaumont. It's the pride
Yes.
of the French army, the biggest fort. He was supposed to stop any enemy. But on the 25th of February, when one German pioneer patrol or
Patrol.
a little team, there were 18 German officers and a few more, maybe 30, I don't know exactly, or 20 basic soldiers. They were sent on the patrol and they were told, you get near to Douaumont and you come back, you tell me what you've seen. They disobeyed orders because the nearest they got, nothing happened. So they felt more and more confident and went even closer until they reached the moat. And no French shoot at them. So they said, let's try. And they find an entrance up there and enter the fort. And because they were ready to fight, they could easily capture the French that were inside. Remember, I told you they emptied everything in Verdun. So instead of 600 soldiers, there were 66.
That's it.
That's it. French soldiers only. And they were from the territorial, so it's soldiers age over 40. So it's almost like to say, we left some people as the concierge, you know, to say there is someone, but that's it. And the thing that I cannot explain, and I still don't understand that, I hope to find the answer soon, they were not expecting any German. And although that huge bombing the days before, they apparently didn't know. No one told them that the Germans were arriving. So the Germans entered, found one French here, 3 French having lunch there, and they gathered them all. They were 66, and the Germans said, you are our prisoners. And the French said, well, we are more than you. The Germans say, whatever. We have the guns, you are our prisoner, that's it. So at the end of the afternoon of the 25th, one German guy pulled the German flag.
And put it up.
And that was it. The Fort of Douaumont was taken by the Germans without them shooting even one bullet.
Wow.
Nothing. Just like that.
And they held it for...
until the 24th of October, the big French counter-offensive, when finally they were able to take it back.
Okay.
They tried in May for 2 days, 22 and 23rd of May, and the French lost something like 5,000 soldiers.
It must have been devastating to the country when this fell.
Yeah.
Especially then that way.
It was a huge victory for the Germans. I've read that the bells rang in Germany.
I don't doubt it, yeah.
And they also gave a day off to school kids in Germany.
Really?
To commemorate the over that they captured Douaumont. So it's crazy because, you know, there is the other forts for visiting. There are only 2, well, actually 3, but among those 40 forts around Verdun, you can visit 3 only today.
Okay.
One in the south was never at fire. It's perfect, but it's a very small fort. It's for 100 people or soldiers, whereas this is the big thing, 600. And the third to visit is the fort of Vaux. The fort of Vaux was taken by the Germans on the 7th of June after a 1-week siege. And the French tried to resist and resist and resist. And they could not take it anymore because they had been fighting the Germans since March. You know, March, they were already surrounding the fort. But slowly but surely they got very, very close until June, when they were completely surrounding the fort. So the French were stuck inside the fort of Vaux and they resisted. You know, the Germans sent soldiers in a corridor with a flamethrower and the French were trying to fight back. So the Germans sent 10 or 20, I don't know the exact amount, you know, one single guy with a flamethrower, and then at the end of the corridor you have that French.
Yeah.
Okay, send the next German guy. Oh, next. So finally, what made the French give up? They were out of water. Otherwise, they could have resisted much longer.
That makes it, you gotta have water. So what do they do with all those other forts that you can't visit? I mean, there's 150 of them. What do they do?
It's various. Most of them are completely abandoned, and you can go at night and
walk through them.
And yeah,
kids go drinking there probably.
Exactly. That's what, when you were born and raised in Verdun, that's what you do when you are a teenager.
Yeah.
You take a bunch of beers and you spend the night in the fort.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah, of course.
Some have been sold, so they are private now. But I think a good quantity, maybe half of them, I'm not sure exactly, still belong to the army. And most of the time they do nothing with it, but sometimes they store whatever they want to store. I mean storage.
Wow.
Yeah, so welcome to the roof of Douaumont. So inside you will see this. I will take you to the room where they manipulate this thing.
Okay.
So this is a Galopin turret, and it's a 105 millimeter cannon.
Oh, right there.
Well, this is a fake one, but yeah, that would be the fake.
And they could rotate this?
So all this rotates and goes up and down.
Okay.
So it's left in up position. So usually it would go up, shoot, and then go down immediately in case the German retaliate and send another shell, so it's protected. It's, you know, if you look,
This is the original.
yeah.
So I'm sure shells bounced off this.
Oh yeah. Because you can see here, you can see those. You know, like it's like
Yeah.
a flame. Maybe it's more
Oh yeah.
here. You know, the steel has melted because of the heat. So, but only that little thing.
Yeah, there's one up there.
And one up there. Yes.
Wow. But this thing is so solid, man.
It's very violent. You know, in books you can read testimony. The soldiers say, "Oh, I saw a 200 millimeter shell bounce." So they see it like come and go, and they say it landed like 2 more kilometers away. So it's that powerful and
Yeah.
that quick. It goes here and it goes. You know, sometimes you have shells that weigh like 1 ton.
I know.
So
I
they
know.
bounce and they land 2 kilometers further.
And there are a lot of these. Are these smaller ones do the same thing?
No. So
Is that like a lookout?
exactly?
In that
so,
one?
So the thing in World War One, but not especially World War One. You know, the more modern the artillery is, the more deadly it is, the more dangerous. So the thing is, the best if you want to protect yourself from shells is that you have a roof on your head and you must have no entrance or openings. If you have openings, then shells or pieces of shells or
Yeah.
even gas can enter.
For sure.
So the goal was to close everything. So this is people that are operating, they are blind. So they work together with an observation turret.
Got it.
So this is the weapon cannon turret and
Okay.
this is the observation turret.
Yes.
You will see the ladder going up. So they always work the same together in all the forts. Serré de Rivière, it will be the same. This is a machine gun turret and this is the observation turret that goes
Okay.
together. Here you have an observation turret, but the weapon is not there anymore. If you look in the distance, you see the turret. It's 2 cannons, 75 millimeter cannon, and next to it, observation turret.
Yeah.
Again, all the time. It's always like that.
Fascinating. So this is all under here is reinforced concrete with,
Yeah.
I mean, this whole thing's reinforced concrete.
Yeah.
If I dig down, I'll find it.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, it's right here too on the surface.
Well, you know, it's the Fort of Douaumont is also extreme in its way. They say that 120,000 shells have landed on the roof
Really?
here, in those 8 months that it was German. So of course it's been bombed by the French.
Yeah,
And-
right.
And before it has been bombed a few times by the Germans, and after it was bombed by the Germans again, after October. So October, November, December.
Because look at that one. That did some damage. Whatever the bomb.
So the thing is, it's so many shells that fell here, but most of the time it was small ones. So like a 200 millimeter can do nothing.
But if you're down there, it is
Yeah.
very disturbing.
Yeah.
Right?
You have, how do you say in English already? You have put your finger on the nail of it or
The,
on the head of it? Or you've described it accurately.
okay.
So that's the thing. It can do nothing. Well, it does a hole in the earth because you had earth here.
Sure.
So yes, this is probably one of the biggest shell that fell.
But it didn't penetrate the concrete.
So you have a few, like 5 or 6 big 400 millimeters.
Yeah.
They went through and they killed the people
Really?
in there. Yeah. I will show you there is a room that collapsed and that they have not repaired. This is the difficult part for me, I must say, because you have World War I and then you have World War II. It was used by the Americans as a prisoner camp.
Here?
Yes.
In World War II?
In World War II, yeah.
I didn't know that.
So, you know, the Germans have done some reparations, and then the French after have done some works on it too, and in World War II it has been repaired, and now because it's open to the public they have done new layers of concrete and that. So I'm not very good at saying this is original and that this has been redone.
Sure.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So what I can tell you is it used to be flat and all you see is shell impacts.
Right. It used to be flat.
Yeah. As you said, when you're in there and there is a small shelf that falls, well, it's a 200 millimeter, it's many hundreds of kilos already. And because it's one big layer of concrete, it shakes,
yeah,
it vibrates
yeah.
everywhere in the fort.
All the time.
All the time, yeah, day and night. And apparently, when you face this, you slowly but surely you become crazy. It's too much nervous pressure. Every second you think you're going to die.
Yeah.
It looks like it's going to collapse. So it's a nervous pressure. You are in danger of dying every minute you are in there.
That's crazy.
It's horrible.
That's horrific.
So you see, you have many rooms. Some have been repaired and some not. So like this one, the roof collapsed. So they have redone the roof. You can walk now, but they have not picked up all the stones.
Mm-hmm.
Here, that thing killed 30 Germans.
30 Germans?
And
I'm going to get a
you see
little
the
close.
sign? They're still here today.
Underneath?
Mm-hmm.
Wow. This shows that concrete.
And yes, so that's a very good example of what I told you. They
Sure.
built it in old stone, the old way of building, and then they had to add that.
Yeah.
But on the side, the layer is not that thick as it is on the roof. And here you have had so many bombings that little by little the shells took off the concrete. So at the end you see the original stone. So to be honest, I feel proud that I'm French, because if you think of the huge amount of shells it has received, I think it resisted very well. I mean, it's still there.
Yeah, it is.
You will visit inside, it didn't move that much. But you will see inside, you have water everywhere. So it's not waterproof anymore because of those hundreds of thousands of shells.
Sure.
It has made cracks. So you have little cracks everywhere, so the water goes through. I have to read this sign to you. It's a funny one for me.
Okay.
On the 24th of October 1916, the Regiment of Infantry Colonial from Morocco, reinforced with the 43rd Battalion from Senegal and 2 companies from Somalia, took in an admirable push the first German trenches, and then progressed under energetic commandment of Lieutenant Colonel Régnier, breaking the successive resistance of the enemy on 2 kilometers deep. He wrote a glorious page of its history by taking in an irresistible assault the fort of Douaumont and kept its conquest despite repeated counter-attacks by the enemy. So
it was the colonies that took it back.
And yeah, it tells us also that at the end of the Battle of Verdun, so between August and December, you have a lot of French colonies involved.
Sure.
In the Battle of Verdun. And to be honest, I don't know the exact reason for that. What I can tell you, what I know, is that the Germans had very few colonies. So the German soldiers were not used of seeing black people, and they were afraid of them.
Good.
Because, you know, for them, for the Germans, they were savage or wild. Yeah, you know, they live in the jungle, so they were wild animals ready to kill. So they feared them.
Yeah.
Whereas the French were used to them because we were fighting together.
Did they, when they go to the colonies to get soldiers, it probably was it a volunteer thing?
No.
They conscripted
Yeah.
them from their colonies.
They were taken sometimes by force
Yeah.
to France. And you know, for them, it was horrible.
Yeah.
I mean, basically, for anyone on Earth, that would be horrible. But especially for them, they were not used to cold weather.
Sure.
And you know, some people came here, they even didn't have shoes. You know,
Yeah.
they were used to walking like
Yeah, barefoot.
barefoot. Then it was 25 or 30 Celsius degrees. Well, it's like summer temperature. And they arrive here, it's freezing cold.
Yeah.
It's minus 20 degrees
Yeah.
sometimes in the winter. You know, so
Yeah.
yeah. It's,
That wasn't.
so what I love about this is, you know, it's to the glory of the French army, an irresistible assault, blah blah blah, a glorious pace. There's no mention that we just stupidly gave this fort
Sure.
to the Germans.
Yeah.
Don't mention it.
Forget about it.
Yeah, we don't need to know. Important is that we took it back.
Yeah.
Okay. I try to make quick. I'm getting hungry. I guess you too.
Yeah.